Hello, everyone. I'm Mira Nisim, and this is Montessori Essentials. I'm talking today to Matthew Simberg out of New Jersey. He is the head and founder of Montessori Seeds of Education is the school, and Montessori Seeds is your blog. Is that correct, Matt?
Yes.
Okay. So, Matt, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks. So, we met at this year's AMI refresher course in Arizona, and had started to speak about what it's like to be a head of school and a teacher and a parent. And we decided that this would be a great conversation to share with all of you. And we're having a bit of a glitch on video, so we've decided to share the website instead of being able to see Matt. Hopefully part 2, we will just have the two of us on video. And I have up on the screen his blog. That's Montessori Seeds at Blogspot. Is that correct?
Yes.
Blogspot.com. Oops. And there we go. And what I started reading, of course, it's backwards chronological order. So we have the newest posts first. What Matt has created is this really interesting graphic that you can see, and it's the traditional prepared environment triangle that we have in all of our trainings, which it's usually child, environment or materials, and the adult. And here we have an even more elaborate one. So Matt, would you like to tell us a little first about how you got started blogging on this stuff, and then how did you come up with this graphic?
Sure. So I guess about 7 or 8 years ago, I was just in the classroom, and I didn't have any other roles. Transparent classroom and other things like that weren't really out yet. And I was just thinking about what parents were communicating about wanting to feel more connected to the classroom. And, you know, they would be in a conference with me, rolling their eyes. I know, just have faith and trust that everything's going to be okay. And I kind of got tired of just saying, like, it's true, just have faith. Like, you know, we'll take care of it.
Right.
And the parents don't want to hear that. And, you know, eventually they just get sick of it. So I started this blog called Montessori Seeds. And initially it was just to do that, to just share some insights and experiences that I was having in the classroom, so that parents could read it and see a little bit more than what they could see before. And then it evolved a little bit more for like other teachers, like maybe they were going through similar things or wanted to see if there were similar things happening in my classroom, in their classroom, and so on. And so I was trying to create like sort of a bridge. And so that's how it started.
Okay.
And then I guess I can go on a little bit of a tangent where in the end of June 2014, I had decided rather quickly that I was going to start my own school, and a couple of other people that I knew were asking me over the past few years from that if I was going to start my own school and what were my thoughts of the future and stuff like that. And I said, you know, eventually I would like to be a head of school.
Right.
And so eventually I just decided and kind of went for it. And within like 2 weeks, I had to come up with a name. And I had completely forgotten about this blog. I hadn't written for it a couple years prior to 2014. And I was just racing, thinking of names. And then I was thinking about like what I wanted to create. Like if I could create my best situation and name of a school and what it would look like and what the children would experience. I thought about them as seeds, and then I thought about them as growing and maturing, and then I thought about Montessori, and then I thought of Montessori Seeds, and eventually I was thinking of different acronyms, and then I got stuck on the whole Montessori Seeds thing, and then I don't know, a few days after my pondering, I thought, wait a second, I used to write a blog. What was that again? I did this like search. It took me like a half hour to find it. And then so I found it. I was like, yeah, it's like, no way, Montessori Seeds. So I completely forgot. I guess it was in my subconscious.
Right.
And then during of education. And now it's evolved into this conglomerate of just thoughts and perspectives and ideas, because now I'm the founder of the school and the head of school and the elementary teacher, And obviously I've experienced being a parent, I've experienced of other parents. So I was
Mhm.
like, I have all this different experience now, and
Right.
I'm doing this dual thing where other people do the same thing, and no one really talks about it. So I tried to think of like a different perspective, and
Mhm.
being a elementary teacher primarily, I thought of this shape, and I've been doing a lot of work on the 7 types of triangles with the children, and I just came up with this image, and it
That's
just started
great.
to evolve and make sense.
Yeah. And I like it. Everyone in the school is encompassed and the child is at the center because
Yeah,
it's all about the child.
it
We're all
is.
here to support them and find our ways to make sure that they have that path to normalization that we all cherish and protect so much. So I love it. I think it's a great idea. And then did you draw this or did you have somebody do it for you?
Yeah, so I had the image in my mind, and I could do a basic idea of it, like from my training, because I used the computer during that. But my business administrator, Patty, she created this with the movable alphabet and stuff like that.
Oh, fun. Oh, that's great. Classic
And then
movable
for each
alphabet.
post, different parts are highlighted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yes. Yes. Now I remember. Yeah, exactly. That's great. So the first one that shows up is here, December 31st,
Yeah,
2017. So pretty recently. And we're talking about the assistants. I just finished filming an assistance course that I will put up soon on my website. And after the refresher, I was really feeling motivated to help kind of the underdogs of the school. And
hmm,
it was really funny that we came into the lecture hall and Jennifer Shields, who is a primary AMI trainer, I think in Massachusetts, she was saying, the children don't check your diploma at the door. She's like, we've
yeah,
got to
that's
remember
right.
that,
That's right.
they don't care who's been trained and who hasn't. You're there and you're there to take care of them and talk to them and help them. And so it's just another reason we all have to make sure that we communicate and everyone is valid, everyone's heard. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So and you've done every part so far. Are there a couple more parts that you're going to be talking about in future blogs?
Yeah, so I've pretty much done every part, and I actually have written 2 more since
Mm-hmm.
December 31st. I haven't published it because it's now become like a bridge to the parent administrator part, and there's a part 2 to this one. And I thought I was moving on, and then when I finished it, I was like, oh man, there's like more to say.
Right.
And my end goal is to turn all of this either into like a work manual or a book or a tool for presentations. Um,
Nice.
One of the big things the about Montessori Seeds of Education is like is communicating and communicating effectively, and then adding collaboration to that. And I just think a lot of people listening to the different groups that I'm a part of and reading about what they're saying, like we get really emotional and we take a lot of things personally,
Yep.
and it's really easy to do that.
It is. Yeah.
So my goal is to help be a focus, to take a step back and say, hey, let's look at it from this perspective.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And tell me a little about your audience. Like, who is your main audience, and how did you start to reach out to the people that you're hoping to help with this blog?
Yeah, so my initial audience was just the parents in my classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And then it became about possibly co-teachers.
Okay.
And now, like with this most recent thread that I'm working on, it's really everybody. So teacher, administrator, parent, employees, and grandparents. I'm trying to touch on every aspect that affects the child, even not just the physical environment, which is talked about a lot, but the emotional and the mental environment that's created for the child as well, or not
Right.
even thought of being created.
Right. Right. And so do you, like when you finish a blog post, do you send it out as part of your weekly newsletter to your families, or where are you posting for people to see it?
So the school has a Facebook page, and I'll post it on there for parents or people that like the page that want to see it. I belong to several Facebook groups that I share it with, and I belong to about 8 LinkedIn groups that I share it with, and then the school has a Google page that I share it with as well. And then I send out an email to any Google groups that allow me to do that.
Nice. Yeah. Good old technology.
Yeah, it's been
Love
really
it.
interesting.
Yeah.
I've shared it with those groups, and there's like a tracker
Hmm.
on the blogger, and it shows that people from all over the world are reading it,
That's
and kind of
awesome.
blew my mind. Like,
Right?
for instance, we were talking about how, I mean, this one time I went to a refresher course. This is the first time that it happened a few years ago. I went to a refresher course, and someone came up to me and asked me if I was who I am, and I said my whole life.
I
And
love it.
she
That's
goes, "Are you?"
great.
She said, "Are you the guy that writes the blog?" And I was like, "Well, is it good?" And
Yeah,
then she
I know,
said,
right? Like, well, that depends. Let's see.
yeah.
How
She told me
funny.
which one it was, and I said, "Yeah, that's me." And I
Yeah,
just couldn't believe it. It was weird, but pretty
right.
awesome. People were reading it.
Yeah, social media has definitely been a huge impetus for, I mean, it's just amazing how many people we can reach who
Oh
are
yeah,
interested in the same things. I know there's been lots of tests in elementary schools where children will post something and see how long it takes to get back to them, and how, if things can go viral and how far around the world it'll go. And it's pretty amazing, and it's a great tool. I know I myself was very inspired by the last day of the refresher. We had a nice speech on AMI's bold goal
hmm
and how we need to relax. Between AMI and AMS, it's two different kinds of teacher training, and sometimes they can get polarized.
yeah,
And the point was, we're all Montessori, and we're all here for the child. And so whether you're trained or not, you're a parent who has a child in a school or not, or you're homeschooling, whoever you are, you've got children in your life, let's band together and share Montessori.
yeah,
And otherwise, we're going to suddenly, we're going to die out over time. And I thought, this is the time to use social media, doing things like blogs and sharing on groups and helping each other out. It really is the best place to have that community. We're all in our busy lives, and suddenly we've got access to millions more people, or
right.
billions.
Yeah.
And so tell me, like, with your audience, do you get a lot of feedback? Do people write you comments? Do they ask, hey, could you give me some more of this topic or another topic?
Yeah, I get some comments here and there, and some of it's sporadic. You can't tell when you're going to get a comment or not.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the feedback is positive and encouraging, and sometimes I'll get questions about what I think of this, or can you tell me more about this, or someone else might be writing something similar and say that they've done research here, and if I wanted to use it, please feel free to do that.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of really cool experiences is when I've had a couple administrators contact me and ask me if they could use the blog post and pass it out to their parents or whatever. I'm like, yeah, that's what it's for, of course.
Right. Right. Well, that's great. That's really nice to have that access. And then among your student body, are they like, would they come up to you at school and say something about the post that you're writing?
Um, I don't share like this stuff with them, but what I did do for the first 3 years that we had the school is I had a few children that knew that I wrote a blog, and so they wanted to do their own newsletter article,
Mm-hmm.
and they started it. It started with 2, and then it became like 10, and then 12, and then it became really fun because then I got to edit all of them, look through them,
Mm-hmm.
and by edit I mean like I would maybe circle or make suggestions, like ask them questions, and then they would fix it, and then it would go out. It was once a week or once every 2 weeks, depending on the year, and it would just go to the parents, and they would love it because they would come up and say, "My grandparents read it, and they want a copy. Can you send it to them too?" And that lasted for a
Nice.
good 3 years.
Oh, that's great. That's really nice. It's good to have that participation with the students. And I just put this up, cooperation versus collaboration. It was one of your posts
Yes.
from April. And I was looking at this and then I saw it says Pinterest. This was not your classroom, right?
No, no.
But this is a really amazing, industrious classroom. I can imagine yours
I thought
probably
it looked awesome.
looks like that. This is great. I love just to see the elementary students, what variety of work they have out at any time. Would you like to say anything about that topic, cooperation versus collaboration, since it's up?
Yeah. So collaboration is one of the words that I use for the mission statement of the school. A lot of people interchangeably use them and don't really understand the difference between the two. So what you would see here overall, if you're looking at the picture,
Mm-hmm.
be considered more of like well, it depends on how you look at it, but cooperation is basically like two people are agreeing to work together
Right. Like
to
these
reach a
two with the
goal.
solar system, it looks like
Yeah,
on the side, yeah?
yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
not negatively, but it's meant to be like selfish, like it's a
Mm-hmm.
selfish goal. And
Okay.
then collaboration is more of a working together to create something that's selfless.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, let's say, a couple of children uh, who experience people in need, maybe they want to create something in order to give something to them.
Okay.
That would be more
Nice.
of like a collaborative effort.
Right. Or if it's something simple like, that the classroom needs to be cleaned by the end of the day, so everyone pitches in. Would that also
Yeah,
be your version of collaboration? Good.
yeah,
So it's the good
yeah,
of the environment.
exactly.
And speaking of the environment, there was something that you wrote in this top blog that I really liked, just talking about the prepared environment that the head of the school has to prepare. And it was
Yeah,
the emotional prepared environment where you're holding space for the collaboration between the students and the teachers among
yeah,
themselves and with the children and the parents with the children and the parents with the teachers, and this whole environment that the head of school and the mission of the school has to kind of encompass. And let me see if I can
yeah,
find it. But I thought that was just such a great concept to highlight.
yeah. So, like, I had experience at different schools, and I knew what I wanted to be able to create, and I understood the different dynamics and interplay between the different roles of adults in a Montessori environment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew those things, but um, I didn't have so much verbiage. I just knew like what I wanted to do and kind of how I wanted to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I started taking Kathy Minori's whole school leadership cohort,
Okay.
and she really helped to make me more conscious of the concept of frameworks
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
learning systems.
Right.
And so basically, what I was, I guess, perceiving and doing from my experience was creating these frameworks for people to be successful and to go more towards like philosophy and universal principles, have
Mm-hmm.
them be guided by that. And I didn't realize I was doing a framework. And so that's sort of what I've been able to synthesize more with my work with Kathy.
Nice. I'll have to look into that. The whole school idea is fabulous. It's neat that there's like retreats or workshops or something that you do with her, or she mentors people. I
Yeah,
don't.
so
Can you tell us
she
about that?
has like a 3 year course that we go to as administrators. I think it's 3 or 4 times a year.
That's fabulous. I wish I had had access to that when I had Samoy Montessori.
Yeah, it's awesome. But yeah, it's this whole concept of creating a mental and emotional prepared environment because you're dealing with like these different adults, or you're interacting and experiencing with these different adults. And
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have a mindset and emotional preparedness for what you want to help the adults achieve,
Mm-hmm.
then everyone's on their own. And that's when
Right.
chaos happens.
Right.
Like, I'm constantly thinking about bringing everyone back to initially the one thing is the mission. And I think that's one huge component that a lot of schools don't focus on and don't quite understand how important it is and how to do it. Like
Right.
a good mission statement, it should not be more than 15 words.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it should be something that can be memorable and something that can be like sort of timeless, something that can be agreed on and not argued about.
Right. Definitely.
And for me, it's also something that like I try to live by and comes from my heart. And so that's another huge important component. But like when you bring everyone back to the mission statement, it's like the guiding post of any organization, and without it, it doesn't last.
Right. And so now that you have a school and it's flourishing, you started in a smaller building and now you have a lot of stable families and you're even purchasing land, which is
Yeah,
exciting.
we're in the process of doing that. We started with 16 children, 4 in primary and 12 in elementary, and actually, as of just before spring break, we're up to I think 59 or 60.
Wow, that's amazing. That is really incredible. And how long has the school been open?
We're in our 4th year right now.
Wow. We fluctuated from starting with my son and then 3 others joined to at our peak, we had 27 children in Koh Samui. And that was like the height of the high season in Koh Samui, Thailand. It was a very touristy island. We were very happy when we would have actual locals, like local Thai families join us.
I mean, yeah, your experience is incredible in a different country.
Totally different. You know, I went to the Educators Without Borders meeting for the Montessori Educators Without Borders, and I went, oh, that's what I was doing. Okay, actually, I did a really good job.
Yeah, that's what I heard when you were telling me.
It put everything in perspective. I'm like, well, wait, no, the materials spoke to the children. Yes, they did go to the path of normalization. They acquired English really quickly. They spoke to each other with respect. Well, actually, yeah, it was brilliant.
Huge success.
As a mother, I was thinking my child's friends are leaving every 3 months. It's so frustrating. I just got this child to learn English and I was about to do the fun stuff with them, and now they're leaving to go to another country or they're going back on their travels. But I had hoped for what you've got, where you start with that little group and then it keeps growing and growing and the parents keep having more children, so then they need a place for them. And
right.
By 4 years, usually that's when your school is really established. And now you must have a very strong mission statement because you're looking to expand even further and buying a large property and getting a lot of support in that way.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
It's a 4th full-time job.
Oh yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. It's a passion. It's a calling. It's not about the money. It's about what you can do for humanity and your own children. So what is the mission statement of your school?
It's to create a mindful, collaborative, and authentic Montessori experience for families.
I like it. That's great. And short and sweet and to the point. I like it. Yeah. That's nice. And
Thank
so in your blog post, especially this one, you're talking about how every time you meet a new prospective family, you focus on the mission statement, and when you're giving them a tour of the school, that you're really telling them about the heart and the foundation of the school through the mission. I remember you telling me in another conversation that some parents would tell you, oh, we visited this, beautiful school down the road that's got all these facilities. And we decided to go with you because we just liked what you stood for. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
So, when we started the school, I was, not proud of the actual environment. I was happy and relieved that I found a place that I could use.
It's already a big deal. That is already a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. And, that was a big accomplishment. There was no green space. And, as a elementary teacher and doing what I was doing, you obviously have these ideals, right? And you're like,
oh yeah.
and there's these other schools that are around. And this is true for anywhere. And the space is better than yours, right?
Right.
But from my experience now, I realize that people are going to connect to one, who are they going to connect to, whoever it is, but really,
Right.
it comes down to your heart and
Right.
your actions.
Exactly. And the
So
relationships that you build, because that really
yeah,
is what it's all about. You know, you could have a beautiful room, but the children might not connect to the guide, and then
mhm.
they're not learning as much as having a room that's not as gorgeous but well provisioned, and a guide that really just gets the children.
Yeah, and that's one of the most important things that I communicated to the families that didn't know me at first and that were considering the school,
Mm-hmm.
was just that this is what I'm doing. This is what I have. This is what I want to do. This is what I have to offer.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other schools that offer other things, and I completely understand that. Some schools, some Montessori schools, try to lock parents in for 3 years or longer, and you know, your contract. If you think everything's great, that's great. You know, I'm glad we can work it out. If you find another school that you think is a better fit for your child, then I wish you the best in that way too. I
Right.
think regardless, we have so many different schools in so many different areas that
Yeah. How lucky.
you just got to let go sometimes, and
Right. Right.
connect.
Definitely. I mean, even in Samui, there was only 3 schools, but for a lot of families, they would hop from school to school. Oh, this one's cheaper. Well, I want
Yeah,
to try the
yeah.
teachers here. Oh, I like
The
the
grass is
facility of that
greener on
one.
that
And,
side.
and at one point, I started to communicate with the other head of schools because I was seeing that happening.
Mhm.
And we had some, some situation where a family had been with us only a month and then came up with some reason to leave, and it turned out they had just found that there was another school that was cheaper. And so I went and talked to them. I said, it turns out you're going to be the 4th school this child has been to in the last 3 months. So,
Mhm.
we need to we need to collaborate and help each other, also
Yeah,
for the benefit of the child. But the parents are always looking for what they think is right for their child and right for
yeah,
their family and their budget. So I can't fault them completely, even though I was
right, right.
disappointed. But it's just interesting. Sometimes there's a picture we don't see. But yeah, the more we can communicate, I guess that's where I was going with that one. The more we can
Yeah,
communicate and help the
it's
child, the
better.
better. And that it really is about the relationship that you have. The more strong your relationship is with the parents, even if your school's not as well provisioned or as big or as beautiful, or it's more expensive or less expensive, they're going to stay with you because they care about what the school stands for.
Yeah, and I think that what you're saying is really interesting, which is making me think of something else. Is that like what we're talking about, and what other people might talk about that are similar, is that this isn't really like a business advice. It's more of like each head of school, and same is true for a teacher in their classroom,
Mm-hmm.
has to find their own truth and be mindful of it, and then connect with the people that they're interacting with on that level.
Yeah.
uh, you can't fake this,
Right.
and
No, you
if
can't.
you do, it's short-lived.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's a philosophy that's grassroots and based on peace, and you either are in it and that's your lifestyle and it pretty much takes over the way that you
Yeah,
think, the way that you talk amongst adults and children, and the way that you parent, or you move on and find something else.
yeah.